This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 77-inch.
On this week's episode, we conclude the long-awaited, definitive top 5 even worse songs with our good friend Angel Valenzuela.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Are we back to normal yet?
Yes, we're back on schedule. Now, Dave, when we started the podcast back on episode 1-inch, we wrote out our definitive plan of every single episode that was going to happen through 2000-inch. And since the beginning, 76-inch was supposed to be part 2 of the even worse top 5. And yes, it did get a little bit derailed, so now we're back to normal. We're just going to have to move everyone down one.
I think that means that we have to bump episode 2000-inch with Weird Al to episode 2001-inch. But we're only doing 2000 episodes. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, but it was for a good reason. You know, we got to talk to Portugal the Man for a second time. It just exploded. There was so much positive feedback from that episode from the guys themselves. You know, the Portugal the Man Foundation retweeted us. We're liking the tweets. Zach was liking it. And something really exciting happened. Weird Al himself, he retweeted the episode and it went out to all his 5 million followers. We were thrilled. That is so exciting to get retweeted by Weird Al. And of course, everything that Weird Al tweets ends up on the homepage of his website. For a little while, we're actually on the homepage of Weird Al's website.
How cool. That was so exciting. I did not see that coming. I remember last time we interviewed Portugal the Man, they retweeted us, and then Al retweeted their retweet. So this was actually Al going right to the source and retweeting straight from at 2000-inch. It was so pretty stinking majestic.
Yeah, really, Al. Just cut out the middleman next time and retweet us. Don't go through Portugal the Man. We're getting tired of everything that we want you to retweet. We got to send it to Portugal the Man. Then you got to tweet it. Then you got to retweet it. You can just retweet us directly. It works fine that way.
Well, luckily he did that. And of course, the big reason we had Portugal the Man on last week was to chat about their brand new single featuring Weird Al called Who's Gonna Stop Me? And it's so good. So if you haven't heard that yet, I don't know what you're doing. Head onto YouTube, check out that song. It's on Apple Music, Spotify. It's, you know, you can purchase it at all the digital music locations. And according to our interview last week, hopefully a vinyl of it is coming soon.
I am so excited to get some new Weird Al music on vinyl.
Yeah, who would have thought that would ever happen again?
Hey, it's 2020. Expect nothing.
Now, another little bonus from moving our schedule around is it gave our listeners an extra week to get in their personal top 5 songs on Even Worse.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being patient as we put the list on hold to talk to John Gurley and Zach Carruthers from Portugal the Man all about their brand new song.
We've tabulated your results and we will share those at the end of the episode to see what our audience's collective but not definitive top 5 songs are.
As you may have seen yesterday, Al's retweeted this video multiple times. He's retweeted our episode, but the promotion for their brand new song, Who's Gonna Stop Me, is still going on because yesterday Al sent out a tweet where he announced that he will be doing a Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything, with Portugal the Man.
Yes, it's going to be on Thursday, October 22nd. That's tomorrow if you're listening on the day this dropped. And that is going to be at 3 p.m. Hollywood Star Time, 6 p.m. Burrito Time. So we hope that you guys will go in there and ask them a bunch of questions about our podcast, how much they love it, and stuff like that.
We will share the link over in our group.2000inch.com.
Yeah, so those of you who are more Reddit literate, you can check out, it's going to be username PTMXWeirdAl, and it's going to be on the /r/music subreddit. So get your questions in, and we cannot wait to see this AMA. It's going to be so much fun.
Ethan, I know that I have watched the video for Who's Gonna Stop Me 1,000,000 times already.
1,000,000 times? I'm so jealous. I've only watched it 999,999 times.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, of course, I took 42 seconds out of my week to watch the full album stream of Shakewell over on shakewell.com, SHAKEWELLE.com.
Whoa, they have the full album streaming?
Not only that, but it has commentary by Bob Cummins Jr.
Holy cow! Wow! Who's that?
Does it matter? He's wearing headphones and he doesn't say anything, and it's only 42 seconds long, but it's still one of my all-time favorite videos ever.
It sounds absolutely amazing. Where can I see it?
Well, of course, visit shakewell.com.
SHAKEWELLE.com.
Now, some other Al news from last week. He shared an Instagram video that he had recorded for @awalkonwater on Instagram, where he announced their virtual fundraiser.
A Walk on Water will be holding their virtual fundraiser this Saturday, October 24th, from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. Hollywood Star Time. That's 7 o'clock p.m. to 8:30 p.m. burrito time.
You can sign up right now by heading over to awalkonwater.org, and they're going to have amazing performances and special guests. There's no word if Al's going to be there, but we do know that Jeff Swampy Marsh, the executive producer of Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law, will be there hosting.
Al also announced in his video that they will have auction items up on awalkonwater.org. Well, some of those auction items are up right now on the website. And if you want to support this great cause, it's a nonprofit that provides surf therapy for children with special needs. So head on over to awalkonwater.org for more information.
Now here's some other breaking news that fans of comedy music will absolutely love. There is a brand new Dr. Demento cheesy compilation album coming out on November 27th, aka Black Friday.
It is called First Century Dementia, the oldest novelty records of all time, and it covers songs from 1895 through 1923. So, yes, Weird Al will not be on there because it does not cover his time frame. Well, unless Weird Al's a time traveler and he happened to record under a different name. But, what are the chances of that?
Now, this is a huge collector's alert because there's a limited edition 2-disc black vinyl gatefold LP that will only be available at independent record stores on Record Store Day. And, of course, it will also be available on CD.
If you're interested in getting an autographed copy, you can do so over on store.drdemento.com, where you can also pick up t-shirts, stickers, buttons, and a lot more fun, crazy, demented items.
Now, if you remember back to episode 73, Inch, a couple weeks ago, we had a special surprise guest during our news segment, Summer Woods. She had that incredible Weird Al original song piano medley, and we talked to her for a little bit, and she said she was going to work on some more stuff, and we're super excited to be the first people to announce that her brand new Weird Al medley video is set to premiere on October 23rd. That's Friday!
Summer just launched a brand new Patreon page over at patreon.com/summerwoods. And on there, she posted this exclusive behind the scenes video for her brand new Weird Al piano medley.
We highly recommend checking it out. It's really interesting to see her process of figuring out which songs to do and which songs to put in which order. It's very interesting. Highly recommended. So check out patreon.com/summerwoods. And while you're on Patreon, why don't you also head over to patreon.com/2000inch.
I am so excited to see Summer's brand new Weird Al medley video set to premiere on October 23rd. And Ethan, October 23rd, that's a very important day for Weird Al fans, because back on October 23rd, 1959, something very important happened. Do you know what that is, Ethan?
Yes, of course, Dave. October 23rd, 1959 is the birthday of Sam Raimi, and he directed the original Spider-Man trilogy featuring Tobey Maguire, which, of course, Weird Al did a parody of Piano Man by Billy Joel called Ode to a Superhero, and without Sam Raimi, we may not have that song.
While that is technically correct, that is not who I was thinking of. There is somebody else very important in Weird Al history, born on October 23rd, 1959.
Oh, Dave. All right, we'll stop goofing around. The person who's very important to Weird Al history, born on October 23rd, 1959, is none other than Nancy Grace. Of course, Nancy Grace, she's the legal commentator, she's a television journalist, she had the show Nancy Grace, but most importantly to the world of Weird Al from 96 to 2007, she hosted Closing Arguments on Court TV. And of course, as we all know, Court TV is mentioned in Weird Al's song Couch Potato from the same album as Ode to a Superhero, Poodle Hat.
Well, that is also a cool Weird Al connection. That is not the person I'm thinking of. Now think, October 23rd birthday related to Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay. In 1959, so that would have been Michael Crichton's 17th birthday. Yeah, he's the author of the Jurassic Park novels, and of course, we wouldn't have Weird Al's song Jurassic Park, or the video for Weird Al's song Jurassic Park, without Michael Crichton's novels. Thanks, Dave, for pointing that out.
All right, that's less of a stretch than Nancy Grace, but come on, there's definitely somebody that's a lot more intertwined in Weird Al Yankovic history that was born on October 23rd.
Okay, Dave. I'm done playing around. I know who you've been talking about the whole time. Our audience knows who we've been talking about the whole time. Of course, October 23rd, 1959 was the 34th birthday of Johnny Carson. He's the host of The Tonight Show. And of course, Weird Al has the song Here's Johnny, all about Johnny Carson's sidekick, Ed McMahon. And of course, Al performed on The Tonight Show on July 25th, 1985. He played Yoda and Hooked on Polkas. And of course, Dave, Johnny Carson's 34th birthday. What a wonderful day back in 1959.
Ethan, are you joking with me? I'm going to give you one more shot. Somebody important in Weird Al Yankovic history that was born on October 23rd. Come on, there's only one obvious choice here.
Dave, of course I know. Of course, October 23rd, 1959 was the 5th birthday of director Ang Lee. He did The Hulk. He did all sorts of movies, including the important one, Taking Woodstock. Of course, the film that I was an extra in. You Can See Me Eating Watermelon. And where would Al be without me?
Alfred Matthew Yankovic. It's Al's birthday, his 61st birthday in 2020. He was born on October 23rd, 1959.
Well, I don't see how that's relevant.
Anyway, from all of us at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, a very, very merry happy birthday to you, Weird Al Yankovic.
Happy birthday, Al. All right, well, do we have any gift ideas? What can we get Weird Al? What do you give a guy who already has a solid gold swimming pool and lifetime supply of accordions?
Well, there's only one thing that you can give that guy, and that is delicious vegan Mexican food. This week's episode is brought to you in part by vegan Mexican restaurant Burrito Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito Burrito. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito Burrito, your Burrito Burrito. Find them at burritosquared.com and at Burrito Squared on Instagram. And remember, not every burrito is a burrito but every burrito can be burrito burrito. And yes, I did that all in one take.
Burrito Burrito, the greatest vegan Mexican food. And as we've mentioned before, you know what else is vegan? Chia Pet hair. As we saw last week, the Yankovic family has started their Weird Al Chia Pet. Dave, how's yours doing?
Well, for fans of our podcast who enjoy the weekly Chia Pet updates, unfortunately, this is going to be the last one from me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Al's hair isn't looking all that hot. I mean, it's starting to wilt. It's pretty much all dead. There is still one single sprout that's sticking out from the very top of Weird Al's head that's hanging on. But basically, it's on his last legs. I'm going to turn it over to our intern, Frank. I'm going to make him clean it up. I'm going to actually see if I can get him to eat some of the hair while it's still attached to Al's head. But, I mean, it's pretty much over at this point. It lasted a pretty long time. I'm very impressed with how well it came out, and I'm very impressed with how long it lasted. And it was a fun experiment. I would do it again.
Well, the opportunity is coming up. You could replant your chia on Weird Al's birthday. That might be a good idea.
It's been a lot of fun growing this Chia Pet. For any of our listeners who have not started their Chia Pet yet, I highly recommend doing it. And don't forget to post pictures of your Chia Pet progress over at group.2000inch.com. We love to see all of our listeners' Chia Pets.
I saw a really interesting Weird Al Chia Pet. The band Nerf Herder, headed by Perry Grip, who he does a lot of work on Storybots, which Al has been featured on. The Nerf Herder Weird Al Chia Pet, they not only put chia seeds on Al's hair and mustache, they also gave him chest hair. I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
Okay, I think we waited long enough. If you have not heard part 1 of our definitive top 5 yet, or you just want to go back and refresh your memory, make sure to check out episode 75-inch to hear us go through every song on Even Worse for an in-depth analysis and to kick off our personal number 5 song choices.
If you don't want to go back, luckily, Frank put together this nifty montage to help you remember.
Previously on Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
I think it'd be really nerdy if a podcast went through and tried to rank songs on a certain album.
What should we do?
Even Worse.
Welcome, Angel Valenzuela.
Mostly play shoots and ladders.
The tracks on Even Worse.
Fat, Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White.
Bibbidi-bop-bop-a-doo.
This song's just 6 words long. You Make Me. I think I'm a clone now. I think I'm a clone now. I think I'm a clone now. Lasagna. Melanie. Alimony.
Hulk Hogan's theme songs.
Velvet Elvis. Twister. I think I'm a clone now. Good Old Days.
This is definitive.
The number 5 song, Twister.
This is on my list as well.
3.80 ERA, 1,974 lifetime strikeouts.
I thought Murder Hornets were going to be a lot bigger problem.
My number 5 is Melanie.
It's number 1 on my honorable mention.
Where's Sean James?
My number 5, Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White.
I was reading off of a paper.
My number 4 song is You Make Me.
He's
Again.
killed himself, then how can he sing the song?
Who does that? Who makes waffles?
We're going to continue this on episode 76-inch. All right, Dave, what is your number 4 track?
My number 4 track is a parody song, and it is Lasagna.
Hey, that's my number 4 too.
Oh, awesome, awesome. We're right on the same page on that one.
Yes.
The reason why this is my number 4, it's a little personal to me. I'm actually half Italian in heritage, so a lot of the things that Al talks about really hit close to home. Like, I
like
could
eating
picture,
food.
Yeah, like eating Italian food, and just in general when he's describing, the whole lasagna, the family sitting down and eating the meals together and things like that. It just reminded me, as a child, big Italian family getting together, and everything of course is centered around food. When you sit at the table, and my great aunts are all trying to push food on us. Christmas dinner. You got to eat, mangia. That kind of things. I pictured, as soon as he said cousin Luigi, I don't have a cousin Luigi, but you get nice roly poly and nice and big like a cousin Luigi. My mind went to my great uncle Pete, and just every time I heard the lyric cousin Luigi, I was thinking of Uncle Pete. And also another reason I like this song is just visually I could picture everything that was happening, and I could set it like if I had the ability as a child to do this, I would have made a music video out of lasagna just by filming Christmas dinner with my family. So, and it would have been perfect. And then when Al later did do the lasagna music video as part of the Weird Al show, he pretty much hit it right on target with what he did when he had the people sitting around the table and basically what was happening at Italian dinner. There were a couple things he got wrong, so I would have fixed those. But it was really cool to kind of see that Al basically had the same idea that I did, what a music video should look like in my head, many years earlier, and he did it many years later. So that's why I thought it was cool. I also enjoyed it because as a child in elementary school, I had to learn the lyrics to La Bamba for a recital, as an elementary school recital. So I still probably can go through La Bamba and I can probably sing that song straight through because I know all the lyrics in Spanish. And I also had to learn the English translation to those lyrics as well, so I can understand what was happening. So I could probably go through and I could sing the song in English as well. So that song is a little close to me, and definitely having like 5 years of Spanish in high school helped reinforce, the fact that, I knew the Spanish, the original song. I knew the Spanish. I could translate it. I could understand it. I knew the Italian, and the Italian, the kind of the fake Italian words that Al was trying to use in there. I knew all the references of what everything was. So that song really struck close to home for me.
That's great. I love the song because it's a funny song. It's just such a fun song. The accordion is just amazing in it. And I remember in elementary school, we had a book that we had to read. Like, it was like the big book that we would read from. And there's like a bunch of different stories in it. And I remember one of them was about a guy singing La Bamba, and they had like some of the lyrics to La Bamba in there. And all the kids were trying to figure out like how the song went because nobody actually knew the song. And I guessed to sing it like lasagna, and I guess I was right. And it's just a great song. One of my favorites from the album, and that's why I put it on there at number 4.
Yeah, I like eating lasagna. That's pretty good. No, I like the song too. I think it's funny how he takes, like a Spanish Mexican style song and turns it into Italian. That's funny to me.
And definitely looking forward to eventually hearing Weird Al do an entire song of lasagna in entirely Italian.
Yes. All right, well, since mine was a repeat of yours, Dave, I'll give you my number 3, and my number 3 is I Think I'm a Clone Now.
Why is number 3 on your list? I think I'm a clone now, Ethan.
You say that like it shouldn't be on my list at all. Do you not like that song, Dave? No, I think it's a great song. I've always been a fan and follower of science, and this is definitely like one of Al's most scientific songs. So I like that aspect of it. I remember in 7th grade when we were learning about cloning, I brought this song in for everyone to listen to, and I don't know if they ever played it, but I tried. And I just have always really enjoyed it, and I just think it's a funny song, and I just like picturing it. I like the puns in the song. I love the line, "Every pair of jeans is a hand me down." It's so funny, and it's just such a catchy song. I heard I Think I'm a Clone Now before the original, and I've just always really enjoyed it. So that's why I wanted it on my list, and I put it at number 3.
I did not have I Think I'm a Clone Now on my list, although I do enjoy the song very much. I was just surprised to see it that high on your list. But, it is a fun little song. I do like the fact that, the narrator of the song kind of is a celebrity just because they are a clone. I mean, you think about it, if there really were a person or two people that were clones, just how much attention they would be getting, when they cloned the sheep and whatever, how much attention
Right.
they got. Imagine they actually cloned human beings, like how much attention they would get. They'd be on every talk show, they'd be celebrities. So I think he hit that part on the head. And my favorite line in the song is how he can send himself for pizza. If I had a clone, I would send him out for pizza every single night.
Of course.
No, I like the song too. Yeah, it's a good song. I feel like, don't get me wrong, I love every song on the album, but I think I would like the song a little more if it was probably done to the Tommy James, the Shondel's version. I don't know. Yeah, that's just me. I don't know how it would sound, but I like that version better than Tiffany's version, in my opinion. But yeah, no, it's a great song. It's funny.
Yeah, I went back and I listened to the Tommy James and the Shondells version for probably the first time I've ever heard it, to prepare for this. And I actually would agree with you on that one. I thought that his version was a lot better than Tiffany's version. And Tiffany's version was obviously very 1980s, and
Right.
Yeah.
she's a product of the 1980s. And the music video for hers is again like stereotypical 1980s music video. She's dancing around in a mall, for heaven's sake, So you don't get much more 80s than that. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think that it would have been pretty neat to hear Al do a parody of the original Tommy James and the Shondells version.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Well, I hope Al's listening. He's getting many assignments out of this episode.
We just have to have Al redo Even Worse, which is all of our suggestions.
Even horrible, I don't know.
We even gave him an album title.
Yes. All right. All right. Let's Angel. Let's give us your number 3.
My number 3, well, I have number 3, Melanie. Like I said before, I like the vocals and the harmonies, and you guys mentioned it was an original song, but I've heard from time to time that he kind of did it like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, I feel like he kind of sounds like Tom Petty just a tad bit, but no. This song is fantastic. Like, it's very demented. It's very nice rock sound, but the lyrics are just insane. Like you said, he effectively kills himself, so the continuity is a little off. But I think that's what makes it funny in a way. I may be dead, but hey, I still love you no matter what, even if I'm dead. So I think that's why, like, that just makes the song very funny, and I think it's one of his best songs in his whole catalog, in my opinion.
Great. Well, I obviously agree. It's, my number 5, but we're going to have to fight Dave since it was only an honorable mention for him.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's an honorable mention.
And and again, that one just barely made it. It was very interchangeable with my number 5, Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White. So I can be convinced possibly to put this one on, depending on how the rest of the list falls out.
All right.
I would have loved to heard this live too. It would have been fun.
Yeah, I got to hear it on the Vanity tour.
Yeah, the Vanity
It
tour.
it was great. And then also the thing to mention for Melanie is the amazing poster art from the Strings Attached tour. That poster art with the cat with the mohawk and
Mohawk, yes. great poster art for that song.
I got the Twinkie Wiener sandwich poster for mine, so that was pretty cool too.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, Dave, what is your number 3?
Well, we already discussed my number 3. My number 3 is Twister.
Twister. Wow.
Again, I just think it's such a fun, happy, upbeat song, and I just love that fact that it's not only a style parody of the Beastie Boys, but it is also a cover of a 1960s commercial.
See, you're surprised that I think I'm a clone now at 3. I'm surprised you had Twister at 3.
Well, my list is going to be controversial. It's going to get even more interesting after this.
It's going to get even worse, I'm sure.
Well, not even worse, in my opinion. It's going to get more controversial. It's what our listeners expect from me, a very controversial top 5 list.
Now, my 1 and 2 have not been mentioned yet. Have either of your 1 and 2s been mentioned yet for you guys?
Nope.
No, neither of my 1 and 2s have been mentioned either.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will rip the Band-Aid off, and I'm going to say my number 2 is Good Old Days.
Nice. That's my number 2.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I can only imagine what Dave's number 2 is going to be.
Well, I'll let you know it's not Good Old Days, but
Okay.
I want to hear why you two think that Good Old Days should sit at number 2.
I'll start. What I love about Good Old Days is if you're not listening to the lyrics, it just sounds like a really nice song.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the lyrics, you're hearing about rats being tortured. You're hearing about, this guy's face being bashed in, this woman being left to die in the desert. It's such a dark and twisted song. It's one of the most dark and twisted Weird Al songs. And
Yeah.
it's so awesome. And another one that getting to hear it live for the first time on the Vanity tour was just so incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I've often joked, and I think other people have joked too, if this would be James Taylor's best song if he wrote it. And I do like James Taylor, so it was great. And, I remember I saw, I think on YouTube there's a music video of him and his band just singing the harmonies to the song. They just sound wonderful. And when I play it for people, it starts off as a nice sounding, guitar folk rock song. And then all of a sudden you hear, I spend all day in the basement torturing rats with a hacksaw and pulling the wings off of flies. People just take a double turn and wait, what the heck? It's a nice sounding song, but it's very dark, and it is one of his darkest songs in his whole catalog. So the lyrics are great, and it's just out of this world. And then leaving the girl to die in the desert is just, oh man, he still hears the screams.
Sweet Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sweet Michelle.
So Dave, Good Old Days is not on your list at all?
Yeah, you know what? But I don't fault you two guys for having Good Old Days on your list. It was a tough choice to leave it off of my list as well. I do enjoy the song very much. And hearing it in concert on the Vanity tour was again, one of those things where you hear it in concert and you like the song so much better. Every time I heard it, it grew on me. And it is a great song. Musically sounds wonderful. Like you said, if you're just listening to the song, and you kind of tuning out the lyrics a little bit, it sounds like it could be on the radio,
right.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't flinch on it. And it does start out, very peaceful and calm. Dad's going fishing, mom's, cooking some, something in the kitchen, apple pie,
Yeah.
And meanwhile, this kid, he's down in the basement, just torturing rats and pulling wings off of flies. So, to me, I realize that the joke about it, but anything that kind of tortures animals or hurts animals, even in like a joking way, I'm just not a big fan of that. So that turned me off a little bit. But and that's probably why I left.
You're okay
it off
with a
the
guy's
list.
face getting bashed in and his store being set on fire, but killing a fly, it's too far.
I don't know if he actually actually kills the fly. He just
That's
tortures
true.
them and pulls the wings off.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
don't know what's worse. That's probably worse. It leaves the thing
Yeah,
alive. You can't even call it a fly at that point. It's just a walk.
Yeah.
So I mean that kind of set me wrong, and it also, it kind of just reminded me. This was an album that I had listened to for the very first time with my cousin. He had actually had it, and he had made a copy of it for me, a bootleg copy on cassette. And I've since gotten it on, legitimately. So don't come after me.
You've since got it on every possible version on Earth.
Pretty much.
I do have this album on cassette as well, so it's all good.
But so I mean, this song does have a lot of memories listening to with my cousin. It was very hard to leave off my list. I don't fault you guys for putting it on the list at all.
Dave, I'm looking at the songs that are left that haven't been mentioned by us, and I'm very interested to hear what your number 2 is.
Well, like I said, my number 2 is going to be very controversial, and I'm not going to give it away just yet, but I have absolutely no reason to like this song. I have absolutely no reason, no personal connection to this song at all. Why I like this song so much. It's just such a fun song, and I love the live aspect to it. I think that's why I really like the music to this song. The song Alimony.
Wow.
It's when that song comes on, I have no connection to it. I've never been in a situation where I've had to pay anybody alimony. I've never been divorced. I'm happily married. I never really have any family members that have ever been, divorced or had to pay any kind of alimony. So I just have no personal connection to this song. I don't really understand alimony and how that works or anything, but I just think it's a fun song, the fact that he's, it's got this live vibe to it. It's the only song other than maybe another one, Rides the Bus, on an Al album that is performed as if it was live. So it's kind of unique, and it's something that I wish, if Al does, eventually put out a song ever again, that he does, consider doing something live like that, even though it's like a fake live,
Right.
It's recorded in the studio, but to sound live. But something like that just had a really cool sound to it. And I just like the really silly rhymes in it, where he's trying to rhyme alimony, he rhymes it with telephony. I mean, lawyers calling me on the telephony, it's just really funny. It's odd, and it's just how this poor person, kind of gets taken for everything that he possibly could get taken for. It's just this guy's down on his luck, but yet he's singing this upbeat, music song. And I do like the call back to one of Al's very early songs off of his first album, and he's done demos for them prior to that. There's a call back to the Checks in the Mail in there, so. It's pretty cool that he does call back that song. Again, I don't understand why I like this song so much, but I do, and I really enjoy it. And every time it comes on, I get excited, I get happy. So that's why Alimony made number 2 on my list.
It made number 2 onto your list?
No, it made number 2 on my
I know,
list.
just making a joke. I have to imagine that we're all going to say the same thing for number 1. I have to imagine, and if we don't, I'm going to be very concerned for you guys. So maybe on 3, maybe we can all just say what our number 1 track is.
I feel like it might be different from yours. We'll see.
Really?
Well, I don't know.
I think Ethan and I are on the same page with this one. I haven't seen Ethan's list, but I have a feeling that I know what he's going to say for here. So I'd like to hear, since Angel thinks he might have something different, I'd like to hear what Angel thinks number 1 is.
I agree.
Well, my number 1 song is Velvet Elvis.
Whoa!
Whoa! Was not expecting that.
Not at all.
Really? No, I really love this song. I like the beat. I like how he emulates the Police really well. And because of this song, I actually have a Velvet Elvis. It's hanging up in my room. It's a black Velvet Elvis.
Very cool.
Very cool. I have a Velvet Elvis as well. I don't have it hanging up, but I do have a Velvet Elvis as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm so happy that you have a Velvet Elvis.
Yeah, no, I got it because of the song. I was like, why do you want a Velvet Elvis? Well, Weird Al has this song. And this is not a knock on Al at all, because I have talked about this song in a previous podcast, but I have said that this song to me is not actually a really funny song. It's just, it's actually a really good sounding song where, he's talking about how much he loves his painting, and I feel like that's a good, song subject.
You can see it being a serious song, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it could be a serious song, and I feel like you can play it on the radio. And I play this song a lot for like my friends who don't listen to Al at all, and they actually they rock out to it. The production of the song, the different how it has that period in the song where like there's a bunch of instruments playing and it's all crazy. They're like, wow, this guy can really produce really well. And it's one of those songs I try to play for people that don't like Al, and they kind of like, okay, this the beat sounds cool and it sounds nice, and it's really good. I can only imagine what your guys' number one though is.
Well, musically, yes, Velvet Elvis is a great song. Musically, it sounds wonderful. I mean, I do have the connection to being nicknamed Elvis, which definitely makes it tough for me not to include Velvet Elvis somewhere on my list. I do own a Velvet Elvis. I do own a lot of Elvis, memorabilia, a lot of Elvis stuff. I actually, if you guys have seen the Headline News music video, there's an Elvis hanging in the background, a tapestry. It kind of looks like a Velvet Elvis, but in reality, it's just a tapestry. I actually, coincidentally, own a tapestry that looks exactly like the one that's hanging in the Headline News music video.
Very
so
cool.
It's not the one from the music video, but it is the same exact design. So I was like, oh, I have that when I first saw the Headline music video. But I know Al was trying to make it be a Velvet Elvis for the music video. So it was, that was again, there are a couple really good lyrics in this, like is big enough to cover up the hole in the wall. I mean, that is just such a classic lyric in the song.
Yeah.
So, it is a good song. I do enjoy it. I'm surprised, it's number one on someone's list, but I guess we're gonna have to hash that out. Right?
Yeah. It's gonna be tough.
All right, well, there's only 2 songs left that we haven't touched on this album yet. One of them is This Song's Just 6 Words Long, and the other one is Fat. So I think together we should say what our number one is, Ethan.
All right, well,
out of those 2 songs.
Obviously, we both chose This Song's Just 6 Words Long. No, Fat. Of course, Fat. Fat is number one.
Fat, of course, Fat. Fat is number one.
Angel, how did you not pick Fat? It's number one.
It's in my honorable mention.
Okay. Well, I think Dave and I are going to be fighting for high placement of Fat. I have to say, Fat is one of my all-time favorite songs, not just on this album, but in the entire history of Al's career. It is just such a funny song. The video is so funny. Seeing it live, this is my favorite song to see performed live. I love the gags. I love, punching Santa in the face and the teeth flying out. I love when he jumps and then Jim and Steve also jump in the shockwave, and I love doing that from the audience as well. It's such a funny song. I love it. It was no question when I was putting this list together, this was my number one.
Yeah, it was probably the easiest choice on the list for me as well. I mean, it's not too much more you need to say other than it's Fat. That's why it deserves to be number one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Again, the concert interaction, the audience participation. Love the part, when the shockwave causes the audience to bounce. You can tell who's been to a concert before and who knows when to participate. The fact that he comes out with a hoe, a gardening instrument for when he's yelling hoe. It's just and the costume itself, just the great fat suit that he recreates the music video where it up on stage, down to like every buckle, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's a great costume and concert. It's a great when he comes out and he does that song, and he often leaves it to the end of the concert, the last song before the break, before the encore. He often leaves it for that, and it's because it's such an audience favorite, and just the audience erupts when Al comes out and does that. And again, as we mentioned, I think we mentioned earlier, just the shot by shot, parody from Michael Jackson's Bad music video. Really, you watch them side by side. It's incredible how much he parodies the original music video on that, And of course, the video itself, it won a Grammy. I mean, you can't argue against that,
Right.
I guess the only thing that would be kind of controversial about it now would be that it's a little bit, harsh to overweight people. But in general, I think they, and I'm not overweight, so I'm not qualified to say this, but I think in general, people kind of think of it as a little bit of an anthem, rather than an insult.
Yeah, I would say, whereas a song like Toothless People is kind of like negative towards people who are toothless, this is not super negative towards people who are fat. I think it's more just kind of, like you said, like an anthem. I don't think it's negative.
I think he's more just celebrating it and saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'm just embracing it, and I'm just going to go out and do all these things. And this is what it means to be overweight.
Yeah, and I don't know too many people that can take up 7 rows, so that's sure it's just an exaggeration.
Well, we have said all of our top 5s, and this song's just 6 words long. The only song on the album that none of us chose. I feel so bad for that song. It's a great song.
Well, like I said, I think I'd like it better if it was with Tommy James and Shondel's version. I'd probably put that in the top 5.
See, I love this song too, and it is kind of hard to leave it off the list. But with all the other choices on the list, I just had to kind of leave it off. For me, what I like about this song is how it kind of breaks the fourth wall. He's kind of talking about writing a song.
Right. It's a meta song, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a meta song, I guess. Yeah, that's the right way to put it. It's a lot of fun. My issue with it is that this song's just 6 words long. Only works because there's an apostrophe S in the title. But as he actually sings it, he says, this song is just 6 words long. The way that he does the apostrophe S, he's pretty much saying is. It turns out it's 7 words in a convoluted way. He kind of stretches out the S.
Continuity error!
Continuity error, again, left it off the list.
Write that down, Al.
You kind of think about it. Like, he could be referencing this song's just 6 words long, meaning the original song "Got My Mind Set on You" is only 6 words long. But it's such a stretch. You really gotta kind of forget the fact that he's saying 7 words in order for it to make sense. So for me, it was the continuity error that bumped it off the list for me.
It's funny. All right, well, now we have the impossible task of figuring out the definitive top 5 tracks on Even Worse.
I think before we get to that, we should kind of go through our list and just summarize where we each are.
Good idea. Okay, so we should each share our top 5 list in order.
Ethan, why don't you start us off with your number 5 down through number 1?
Okay, so my number 5 was Melanie. My number 4 was Lasagna. My number 3 was I Think I'm a Clone Now. My number 2 was Good Old Days, and my number 1 was Fat.
All right, and then my number 5 was Twister, and number 4 I had You Make Me. Number 3 I had Melanie. Number 2 is Good Old Days, and number 1 is Velvet Elvis.
My number 5 was Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White. My number 4 was Lasagna. My number 3 was Twister. My number 2, Alimony. And number 1, rounding off the top, Fat.
What I think is really interesting, there is no song that across the board we all 3 put in our top 5. There are a couple where 2 of us did, but for the most part, this is a very separate album for us. So I think this is going to make it very difficult for us to come to an agreement.
Yeah, this is where we hunker down and we get serious.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but all top 5 of my songs are usually like style parodies, with the exception of probably Twister. So I guess I don't really have any song parodies directly in my top 5.
Interesting.
Twister's a style parody of the Beastie Boys.
No, I meant like I don't think there's direct song parodies in my list.
Oh, they're all style parodies. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess what it shows that we all chose different songs is how diverse this actual album is, and how how difficult it is putting together a top 5 list when you have 3 totally different opinions.
For sure. Now, looking at our rankings, I think in the past when we've done this, Dave, we definitely try to give extra weight when someone feels something is a number 1. And seeing that 2 of us have the same number 1, I'm not just saying this because it's, also my number 1, but the fact that we both have Fat as our number 1, I would argue that should be number 1 on the definitive list. Is that something you'd be willing to do, Angel?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you guys have both number 1 as Fat, I'm not gonna argue with that. That's a great song, so you can put that as number 1. I have no problem with that.
And how do you feel, Dave?
Well, I feel that because it is number 1 on my list, it should get extra weight and it should be number 1.
And it is track 1. So, okay. So we have decided the number 1 track on Even Worse is Fat. And now the hard part comes in.
So me and you, Ethan, have Good Old Days at number 2, I believe.
Yes. So, that has some extra weight. If you have Alimony, you're the only person to have Alimony on the list. But, Angel, you also have Velvet Elvis as your number one. So, it's starting to get very complicated.
Yeah, and it's tough because Velvet Elvis is not on any of our lists either. I mean, I guess we should kind of think about the songs that some of us do have in common. I know that myself and Ethan had Lasagna at number 4.
Right.
Ethan and Angel both had Melanie at number 5 and number 3, respectively. And Good Old Days, you both had at number 2 also. And Twister,
yes,
I had along with Angel as number 3 and number 5, respectively. So there are a few songs on the list where we, even though haven't exactly matched the numbers and all three of us don't agree that they should be on the list, they are on the list. So we may want to focus on those.
There are exactly 5 songs that have at least 2 people with it on their list, interestingly enough. So I don't know if we want to use that as reasoning to include them on the top 5.
Yeah, and just to summarize again, those 4 songs that we haven't already talked about are Lasagna, Melanie, Twister, and Good Old Days.
So if we went with just those 4 to round off the top 5, that means, Angel, you'd be losing your number 1, and Dave, you'd be losing your number 2. And I'd be losing my number 3, which is not as weighty as a 1 or a 2. So I would say, I think you guys need to start arguing for Velvet Elvis and Alimony, respectively.
I mean, I can see an argument for Velvet Elvis. I have a feeling it's going to be a long uphill battle to get Alimony past you two.
Yeah, I think between the two, I would pick Velvet Elvis. Not to say I have anything against Alimony, I just would choose Velvet Elvis as the song I prefer more.
I like the ending of the song too, where he's like Velvet Elvis. That's a pretty cool sounding part of the song. I don't know. I guess I like the song for its music. So, being a music guy myself, I just appreciate how much production goes into it with all the different sounds. So that's why I have it up there. So, and I like Billy Idol too. Me and him share the same birthday, so that's cool.
I do have it in. Your birthday twin. I mean, come on. How can you not put that song on the list?
Yeah, I don't know.
So if we throw Velvet Elvis into the mix, I mean, then we've got a nice round 5 that we have to then narrow down to 4 and then rank. Of those songs, there's only one parody in there, Lasagna, and that both made it number 4 on my list and your list, Ethan.
Right.
So I mean, if we do want to get another parody into here, we could possibly rank Lasagna towards the bottom of the list. I wouldn't say it's a number 2 just because it's
right.
On the list, but that's a thing. That's something we can look into.
I would argue Good Old Days because Angel and I both had it at number 2 for number 2. I don't know how you feel about that one though, Dave, because it's not on your list.
Again, musically, it's a good song. It's tough. It does bring back memories, like I said, of sitting and listening to that song with my cousin. Down in his basement while we were torturing rats with hacksaws
right.
and pulling wings off of flies.
Right.
So
as we all did as a child.
I mean, I could see an argument for having Good Old Days on the list. I could see an argument for having Melanie on the list. I would be comfortable with having those as well as Velvet Elvis on the list if we needed to.
What are you thinking, Angel? What do you think we could do for number 2?
Yeah, like you said, you and I both had it at number 2, but we could probably lower it, I guess, if to down lower, because you guys have Lasagna both together, but you and I have Melanie.
I think what I'm seeing, just the trend here, since you guys have Good Old Days as number 2, we should put that as number 2.
I'm on board with that. Yeah.
I mean, if we both feel strongly that Fat's number 1, you guys both feel strongly that Good Old Days is number 2, we should put that on there. Yeah, I would say that's fair. And again, it's not that I don't dislike the song, it's just I like other songs better.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like, are we all in agreement? Good Old Days is number 2?
That's fine, yeah.
Yep.
All right. 3 more to go and so many songs to choose from. Well, at least we know this song's just 6 words long is not making the list. That's the one shining light in this conversation, is that we have one
great.
song we don't have to think about. Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White Dave, you had that at 5. You Make Me, Angel, you had that at 4. I Think I'm a Clone Now, I had that at 3. Alimony, Dave, you had at 2. And Velvet Elvis, Angel, you had at 1. So those represent 5 songs that only one of us even put in our top 5, which is, like we said, maybe less weight than songs that we had agreed on.
Ooh, sounds tough.
I feel like I'm willing to concede I Think I'm a Clone Now. You know, you guys don't have it ranked at all. It's my number 3. I knew going into it that was going to be a controversial choice. I'm okay foregoing I Think I'm a Clone Now, if you guys want to choose a song that you can forego.
Again, I knew that Alimony was going to be a controversial choice as well. I didn't expect that it would be on any of your lists. It's just, I just felt that I just enjoy that song when it comes on a lot. I realize it's an uphill battle to get that song into the top 5. I'm willing to concede Alimony in exchange for some of these other songs.
Do you guys have You Make Me on your list or no, right?
No, you're the only one with You Make Me.
Yeah, I can concede that. That's
okay.
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're making some progress, at least. So we need to come up with our number 3, and we have 6 choices. It's better than nothing. We've all conceded one of our top 5s. If we're looking at songs that we have in common, it's Lasagna, Melanie, and Twister.
Of those 3 songs, I don't know that I had, I would probably, I did have Lasagna on my list as number 4, which is an average of where Melanie is for you guys, 5 and 3.
Right.
Again, if we averaged Twister together, where I had a 3 and Angel had a 5, that also comes out to a 4.
You're right.
And
I sort of want to put an offer out on the table. Velvet Elvis is Angel's number 1. I feel like it has to make the top 5, so I would put out there the Velvet Elvis. I would be okay with it being at number 5, but I don't think I would want it any higher than that. So you guys tell me what you think of that.
Well, I obviously wouldn't mind it either.
Well, it's not as high up as you'd want.
No, but it's it's top 5. So
how do you feel about that, Dave?
I mean, I feel pretty good about that as well. Putting that on the list, since it obviously is Angel's number 1 song.
So then, if we agree, then we still just have to find 3 and 4, which is it's going to be tough. But I think let's put Velvet Elvis at number 5 on the definitive list.
All right, if we put Velvet Elvis at number 5, then we'd have to knock off Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White, because that was also number 5. So since that only made number 5 on my list and not number 5 on either of your lists, it shouldn't make higher than number 5 on the cumulative list.
Works for me. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, well, that's why we have 3 people working on trying to put together a top 5 list, because not everyone's opinions are always going to match up.
Right. So we have 2 spots left. We have 3 and 4. And of the ones that have not been chosen or conceded, we have Lasagna, Melanie, and Twister.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, as Dave pointed out, those all average to number 4. So now we just have to figure out which one gets higher. I will point out that, Dave, you did mention Melanie was an honorable mention for you. So I would weight that a little bit higher than Lasagna and Twister, and I would recommend Melanie for number 3.
I mean, if we put Melanie at number 3, then I would have to have probably Twister as number 4.
Yeah, I have Twister at 5 for me.
So we would lose Lasagna, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it'd be tough. I mean, Melanie could be number 3. I think that's a fair ranking for Melanie. As far as Lasagna and Twister, it's really going to be a toss-up, because they both average out to 4. The 2 people both had them on their list. Twister as a 3, and one had Twister as a 5, and 2 people had Lasagna as 4s. So that's really almost, we should flip a coin for that.
Well, I would say, in all fairness, my number 1 and 2 made the list. Angel's 1 and 2 made the list. Your number 2, Dave, did not make the list. So your number 3 is Twister. So if we put Melanie at 3, I'd be okay with losing Lasagna and putting Twister, which wasn't on my list, at number 4.
That sounds fair.
How do you feel about that, Dave?
I think we should wrap this up.
Maybe this is easier than we thought. Okay, so if we agree, then our top 5 definitive tracks on Even Worse would be number 1, Fat, number 2, Good Old Days, number 3, Melanie, number 4 Twister, and number 5 Velvet Elvis. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, 3 of my songs made it. That's great.
I feel Good Old Days might be a little bit too high for me, but I mean, in interest of everybody, coming up with a definitive top 5, it sounds pretty fair. The rest of the songs definitely rank out how I feel they should.
Are we in agreement somehow?
With an asterisk next to Good Old Days,
okay.
I would agree to the list.
Well, do you want to? Is there any reason where we should move Good Old Days lower? Is that something that you want to put out there, Dave?
Personally, with that list, I would switch Good Old Days with Melanie. I think Melanie's a little stronger than Good Old Days. And of course, Melanie was performed live in concert on more than one tour. I think Good Old Days was only performed on the Vanity tour.
And the other positive to Melanie is that it made all of our lists in that it was an honorable mention for you, Dave.
Right. And again, my honorable mention was, like I said, the honorable mention was up until right before we started recording. It was number 5 on my list, and it just got bumped down because of the continuity error where, the poor narrator is dead, yet still somehow singing.
I would be okay with it if you're okay with it, Angel.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Bumping Good Old Days to 3 and Melanie up to 2. I'm okay with that.
Me too.
Especially since Dave lost his number 2.
But yeah, I love both songs. So.
Sweet. All right, so let's go through our final list. The definitive top 5 we're putting in stone. We're getting it etched right now. Ethan's getting it tattooed on his forehead as we speak.
That's right.
Number 1.
Great.
The definitive top 5 list as decided by Dave, Ethan, and Angel. Fat is in at number 1. Number 2, Melanie. Number 3, Good Old Days. Number 4, Twister. And number 5, Velvet Elvis.
I feel good about that. I really do. I think if someone handed me even worse and they said, you can only listen to these 5 tracks, yes, I would be missing I Think I'm a Clone Now and Lasagna and all the other ones. But I think that's a great representation of the album. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I think so as well. I think if you were to only play 5 songs off the album for somebody, that would give them a good idea of what is exactly on this album.
Yeah, it's a great album. And great songs.
All right. Well, I guess we've done it. We somehow have done it. Angel, thank you so much for joining us for this very important episode where we discuss Even Worse. And hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you're not offended that we didn't have Velvet Elvis on our lists.
No, I'm
Hopefully
not.
you'll still
I'm just
sponsor
glad
us.
it wasn't 11.
Right.
I might have been a little like, okay, well.
Yeah, we didn't hang up on you when you said Velvet Elvis. So.
And Dave and I both have Velvet Elvises, so that's pretty cool too.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I need to get one. I really want a Velvet Elvis. I really want to get Al painted on velvet. I've gone as far as actually getting it priced out by a velvet artist, and I'm not at the point of actually buying it yet because it is quite expensive for a custom velvet artwork. But hopefully one day I will have both Al and Elvis covering up various holes in my walls. Well, guys, we somehow did it. We came up with the definitive top 5. Nobody's allowed to argue with us. Nobody can debate. It's not open for discussion. This is definitive. This is final. Angel, thank you so much for joining us for this. It was really a blast. One thing I wanted to ask you, we always, when we mention your generous sponsorship on the podcast, we mention your son, David Cash. That is such an interesting name. Where did you come up with David Cash?
Well, like I said in the episode, I'm a huge music guy. Listen to a lot of music, and I'm also I like Johnny Cash a lot. His music is great, so I just decided to name his middle name Cash, and I think it just has a nice sound to it. I don't want to name his middle name like David Weird Al or. I think
that would be great.
Or David Yankovic. Oh, that actually does sound pretty.
It is good. David Elvis could have worked.
David Velvet Elvis.
Yeah, no. Or David McCartney. I don't know.
Right.
But I thought Cash sounded good. Yeah.
Cash is just it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great sound to it. I feel like.
Yeah, the great Johnny Cash, a great songwriter, great musician, absolutely.
I don't know if Al has done any Johnny Cash stuff. Do you guys know?
No, not to my knowledge. He has not ever covered or parodied any Johnny Cash songs. So there's another one for you, for Al, for
Yeah.
That's your homework.
when you do your Even More Horrible album, when you do the remake of Even Worse, throw on there a polka of Johnny Cash songs.
It'd be so great.
That'd be interesting.
We want to give a huge shout out to David Cash. Thanks for your support, David. Angel, thank you so much for your continued support of the podcast, your love of Weird Al and music, and it was really a blast getting to chat with you and come up with this definitive list together.
Oh yeah, I love talking about this with you guys. Like I said, nobody in my circle or friends or family don't listen to Al, so it's nice to talk Weird Al with two big super fans, especially one who's responsible for the star on the Walk of Fame. So that's pretty cool. So I hope Al listens to this episode one day.
That would be great.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
That was so much fun. Thank you so much to Angel Valenzuela for joining us for the definitive top 5 songs on Even Worse.
Now, after part 1 aired, we asked our listeners to send us their personal top 5 list, and boy, did you guys deliver.
Yes. I had so much fun reading through everyone's top 5 lists and figuring out who was going to be excited and who was going to be disappointed with our definitive list.
I was really surprised just how much variation there was from list to list. I mean, no one had the exact same list, and no one had the exact same list as us either.
Yeah, that's true.
There are also some surprises on the lists that everyone submitted, in that not one list that was submitted picked either Alimony or Twister.
And both of those were on yours, and Twister was also on Angel's, so that's really surprising.
And also surprising, although maybe not that surprising, but the song Melanie, that was the most popular choice, and that appeared on all but one list that was submitted.
Wow, good thing that made our list. Now, we had Frank crunch some numbers, do some math, and giving weight to each person's rankings, we determined what our listeners would have said if they had to determine a top 5.
Coming in at number 1, our listeners put Melanie as the top choice. Number 2 was Good Old Days. Number 3 was You Make Me. Number 4 was Fat. And number 5 was I Think I'm a Clone Now. Nice try, everyone, but you are wrong.
Have an issue? Take it up with us on group.2000inch.com or give us a call 347-SPATULA. We can't wait to hear how wrong you are.
Back at Alcon 98, Bermuda mentioned that there had been plans for a polka on the Even Worse album based off of the music of the band U2. Well, obviously it didn't make the album, and there's not a lot of information out there about it, which is one of the reasons why we didn't mention it. But hopefully we will get to hear the whole story one day.
Now, also in part 1, we mentioned that Lasagna was the only recent parody in which Al didn't ask permission because it was a traditional folk song.
Our good friend Blair Freeman pointed out to us that the estate of Richie Valens had actually approached Al about that after the fact, and that Al agreed to some kind of financial settlement.
Thank you, Blair. That is news to both of us. And you can be assured that our intern Frank will be properly reprimanded for not thoroughly researching this song and bringing this important detail to our attention.
Each week we can bring you this podcast absolutely free thanks to sponsors like Burrito Burrito, Angel Valenzuela and his son David Cash, Jackson Scoggins, and all of our amazing Patreon supporters like Spencer, Richard, and so many more.
Revenue from our incredible supporters on patreon.com/2000inch is how we can afford to continue doing what we love, which is making fantastically fun, funny, and family-friendly Weird Al podcasts for you each and every week. We'd absolutely appreciate your consideration in joining our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family for as little as $1 per month.
Another way to support the podcast is to pick up and wear merchandise from the official Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast merchandise shop. Head on over to shop.2000inch.com for t-shirts, bags, mugs, and more. Recently, we were thrilled to see a photo of our friend Dana chilling with an official Gillenchillo after a long day of work. Keep those awesome pictures coming in.
Find us online at WeirdAlPodcast.com or 2000inch.com, and please join our Facebook group by heading to group.2000inch.com for episode discussions and other fun exclusive content. Don't forget to tag Weird Al or podcast-related posts on social media using hashtag 2000inch and hashtag GillandChill, and follow at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Make sure to share our posts, tell your friends about the podcast, and we love it when you leave us voicemail on our 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347 Spatula. You might even hear your message on the air. The 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, is sponsored by Angel Valenzuela and David Cash, two amazing Weird Al fans and podcast supporters.
You already know where to find us, but do yourselves a favor and head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, or the podcast app of your choice, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our brand new episodes every Wednesday.
Thanks again to this week's guest, Angel Valenzuela, and also thanks to Kelly Phillips, Christian Portwine, and all of our listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone who makes this episode and our podcast possible.
You know, Dave, I was just goofing with you earlier. I know that October 23rd is Al's birthday. You know, Al Leiter, former left-hand pitcher, two-time All-Star, three-time world champion, Roberto Clemente Award winner, he pitched a no-hitter, 3.80 ERA, 1,974 lifetime strikeouts, pitched for the Yankees, Blue Jays, Mets, Marlins. You know, he's got a really cool haircut. He talks on TV. You know, he is probably a fan of Weird Al. He's just in that right age group. He just kind of has that look.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 77-inch, voted favorite podcast of 2032 by Time Travelers Monthly magazine. He had actually had it, and he had made a copy of it for me, a bootleg copy on cassette. And I've since gotten it on, legitimately, so don't come after me.
You've since got it on every possible version on Earth.